Welcome to the podcast, Jessica Mudditt.
Hi, Emma. Thanks a lot. Great to
This
be
is,
here.
this is a fun one. So we're doing something a bit different today. We are recording on my usual platform of Zoom, but we are doing it live. So what we did was invited guests to come in. So they are here watching us talking and we'll be joining in on the chat. So it'll be really, it's fun and interesting. It's the first time I'm doing it like this.
Yeah, it's hybrid live recording. It's got everything. It's great.
Everything, because I had you on the Instagram live the day your new book came out, which is so exciting. But I always would like to start with just tell us a little bit about you. Jessica
Yes,
Mudditt.
I am Jessica Mudditt. I have just published my second book, Once Around the Sun. My first book is called Our Home in Myanmar. And the third book is called Kathmandu to the Khyber Pass, because this is two-part. This is from Cambodia to Tibet, and then from Kathmandu to the Khyber Pass is the rest of that year-long trip that I did through Nepal, India, and Pakistan. I founded Henbury Books last year to work with nonfiction authors like yourself to bring books into the world, because that's what I love doing. And so it's a coach, edit, publish model where I work with authors from refining the idea and the purpose of the book and the goals through to editing the manuscript and then publishing the manuscript as an independent author, which means that my clients keep their royalties and they own and are fully in control of their book. So once the book is into the world, it's for the author as the business owner of their book to make it a massive success, and I do everything in my power to set that author up for huge success, and hopefully to come back and do a second, third, fourth book with Henbury Books.
Well, and you do that with one of your first was she the first non-you published book was
Holly
Holly's
Dean Johns, yes.
yes, Holly's
Yes.
book, Holly's Hell, which I have read, which is I'm still kind of I don't know, grappling with. But such a powerful story, but also the media that's been around it and has just been incredible. What a launch.
Absolutely unbelievable. When Holly and I first spoke, we had a mutual connection who worked at the Australian Embassy, and Holly was waiting to hear back. She'd tried a couple of publishers. She was waiting to hear back from a third, after which point she was going to self-publish. And so I was selfishly like, please turn it down. Please turn it down. I want this book. I want this book so much. Because I knew it was, getting a 31-year sentence in Thailand and giving up heroin while inside, to me was just, she didn't need to tell me anymore. She was like, oh, and I finished the manuscript. It's ready to go. I just couldn't believe it. Holly decided to go with Henbury Books to give me a chance. And it's been an incredible success, selling like hotcakes, and just the media coverage and, promoting awareness about what you can do. Actually, she had no rehab available. It was absolutely terrible conditions, but she has this incredible ability to set her mind, and that when you fully commit to something, you are done and you can do it. So she's now speaking at addiction recovery centers and things like that. So it's really been wonderful to work with Holly, and she's just a great person and fun.
And I will be having her on the podcast. I'm so excited to have that conversation. And actually, it was we were meant to record, and then the day that we moved, it was going to be a pretty heavy day, because I was like, I'm talking to somebody who's been in prison for 7 years and, this life. And then I also spoke that same day to Dana Da Silva, who you've also worked with in a different capacity, who has in some ways a traumatic story and
Yeah.
talking about sex and mental health, and there we go, the shift. So the pile of books, I'm not at my house, but the pile of books next to my desk, I'm going to do a photo, because I just, and the only problem is that I know them all. So I'm like, I know all these authors. I want to read all of your books at once, and I have to prioritize basically who's on the podcast.
Yeah. I love the growing pile of Henbury Books. See?
Oh, yeah, your show's going to be full.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Well, and so yeah, it would have been quite a heavy day. And then you said to me, well, don't worry, like reading my book or talking about my book, it's not a heavy day. But what I
No.
did say to you though is what I've really enjoyed with your book, so Once Around the Sun, is how I want to say transportative. It's not, I don't think it's a word, but it transports you, and like it just takes me, obviously I'm a traveler too. I love travel, and I have been to quite a few of the places that you're talking about. But even without that, I'm just taken back to that feeling of travel and those experiences that you're having. And if I haven't had, which I have, especially in the first few chapters, I have had some of those exact experiences and been to those places, but I've had the similar situation of that, being a traveler, being a backpacker, or of the, you know, sort of, I guess, budget travel style.
Rock bottom budget. Travel
Yeah.
on a shoestring is how Lonely Planet, you know, pitches their book.
And you
Southeast
said
Asia
out of
on
the
a
gate,
shoestring.
there's shoestring, and there's like, you know, I was literally in these early screaming at the book, like, Jess, just pay more money. Like, it's $2, Jess, please.
I know, but I had this constant tension. Like my budget was like $16 a day, right? And that for everything. And sure, I could go over, but I would have to cut my trip short.
Yeah.
And I wanted to travel for 365 days. So there was always this tension, you know, and like with Mount Everest, I really wanted to go, but that would have been hundreds of dollars. That would have been weeks off my trip. You know, and so it was just incredibly fortunate that someone overheard me with my loud, shouty voice in a cafe, came over and said, we'll give you a half price ticket if you sit in the back of the Jeep with the luggage. So, yeah.
Which, yeah, look, and if you're open to those opportunities, I mean, even today I got offered to go to a conference at half price because it's down the road. I don't have the capacity or the time at the moment, but like if people know, and I was talking about this yesterday, and I think it's going to be my next podcast episode. I love free stuff, and I think people know that I love free stuff, but not only free, I love a bargain. And I said, I want to increase my money and my wealth, and I think I had a time where I thought, oh, if I accept free things, then I won't get paid. But what I've also seen is that, especially through travel, the good karma and the generosity of accepting and receiving generosity when it's offered has allowed me to have these amazing experiences. And then to be so fulfilled and my cup so filled that I can go out there and be in a good place and then attract more income. I just don't ever want to get to a point where, yeah, I'm staying in a lush hotel and I'm like, oh, it's okay. I always want to be excited by what I'm doing, and I always want to be excited by free toiletries.
I don't see it actually as free. I see it as bartering. Like when I worked in Myanmar for the Myanmar Times, our quirky editor bartered everything. He rarely paid for anything, partly because the banking system was broken. But we would, because all the journalists had to leave every 70 days, and our flights would be paid for by the airline, who would place an ad in the newspaper for free. He was bartering everything. And so if you accept something for free, they're getting something in return, I am sure. This is
Value
not
exchange,
complete goodness of their heart. So long as you have something of value to offer, it's a barter exchange. I love that.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's that, it was sort of a tangent I went on, but I think with travel, like it's all those wins, all those, those times that you get to keep a bit more in your pocket. Why would you not accept that goodness? And I think that, that's something that travel has always given me. And I don't ever want to be not excited by. I've just been watching The White Lotus. I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't seen it. I've heard so much about it.
It's very strange. It's quite, so it puts you in a funny mood, but what, it is looking at these people who are uber wealthy. Like we're talking like you and I would like it's $6,000 a night, these hotels. And I'm just like, I want to say I'm going to be in a position where I'm going to be doing that, but their apathy towards, like, it's just like, oh, these hotels. And it's like, I don't ever want to be at a time where I'm not like, look at this place. And I love it. And I paid $6,000 and I love it and I'm enjoying it and it's worth it. And I'm going to soak it in and not just, oh, another hotel, oh, another view. Like, I don't ever want to be
that meh about life, but you never would be. And you did amazing stuff. This is what I love about your book is how many amazing world wonders you've seen for free. Like Machu Picchu, Mount Everest, you did better than me. You've done Vietnam, Halong Bay is another world wonder, UNESCO listed, so many. And I just don't think people are aware, because if you have the option to go as a tour guide and get to see it, like that's just a win-win to me.
Well, and that's
I
something
would,
I understand. It's really funny. I'm very finding it difficult to comprehend. I'm trying to remember. So I'm reading your book where you did 365 days and you had your budget, but also like we talked about the shift. Dana De Silva's book also has travel element in it. And then,
yes.
we've talked at other times about my other dear friend and writer, Kirsten Piltz, who's just written her memoir, which has quite a lot of travel elements in it too. And again, she's doing things sometimes quite cheaply. And I'm just like, I can't, I like understand. And I think there's really cool elements to doing things on a budget, but because it was only that first year of travel that I did, where I guess I was on more of a budget, but I was always working. So even I did a gap year. I was never going to be like, I went away with $7,000, which in hindsight wasn't much. But because I was,
didn't you come back with $1,000 or something? Isn't that?
oh no, that was it. No, I went to the US. I made money on a trip one time. I got
Amazing
money
to
while
me.
I made money while I was away. But no, but I went with the intention to work. So like reading this book and I love the thing that I'm envious of. And I spoke to a traveler the other day who I basically was like, you don't get this time back. Like what you and both Dana said was about that freedom to wake up, to let your body, like, because you didn't have work. You
Wake up when your body woke you. Yeah. I didn't need to set an alarm for a year, unless I was, catching a bus at 4 a.m. or, something.
Yeah, there's always.
But I would also try to avoid that because there was no rush. Like I would just book an afternoon bus. It's amazing.
Why
I was in
mean, even
control.
now I'm like, why am I booking 6 a.m. flight? Like it's
I
cheap.
don't do that.
Pay the $20 extra.
Yeah.
Fly at 8 or 9
Yeah.
or 10.
Yeah.
I run my business. I can fly at any time of the day. But there's
But
still I think that traveler mentality in you of like saving the money to spend elsewhere.
But I mean, with, the backpacker scene, like it becomes like a competitive sport, not spending money. And there's a really ugly side to it where people they are so, and I wanted to include some elements of that. I considered myself a bit of a spender. Like, I would just see something beautiful and be like, oh, I have to buy that little tortoise, trinket. But some people, they were really living off $1 a day, or some days spending nothing. They were just, they were putting themselves in a bad situation. But worst of all, they were not contributing to the local economy in which they were in. And they were horrible bargainers and stuff, like really. And you just see the local person trying to work out whether or not they should even actually do it. And then having to be in the company of this person for whom they have resentment, but still providing a nice customer experience. I saw a lot of that stuff, and I, hope I didn't get to that. But in India especially,
it's very easy to get sucked in, and you start to live the economy. You start to live to the currency. And I had an argument with a friend in Mexico about this because I was haggling, which is fine. The guy stuck on the beach trying to sell me a dress that I didn't really need, but I was like, sure, if you'll give it to me for the price. And I didn't end up agreeing on the price. And so he left, and she said, you were haggling over $1. And I said, I wasn't haggling over $1. Oh, it was over $5. I said, it's not $5. It was over 60 pesos. I'm living the currency. It was 60 pesos. I didn't want to pay it. I didn't need it. So we were bartering. Like, she kept going, it's just $1. And it's like, but it's not just $1 here. And a guy did that as well. He paid a cab and he gave him back 40 pesos, which is $4. And I was like, get your change, because then he's going to expect that every tourist comes and just goes away $4.
You have to make these decisions every day, and there's no clear right or wrong. And I got it wrong a lot, but I just tried to have a good heart. You know what I mean? Like, I got better at bargaining, especially, living in Bangladesh. Like I would bargain every day to get to work on my rickshaw. That is part of the culture, and not to bargain would be strange, but I didn't try to overdo it. But of course, sometimes my judgment was off or whatever, or I was in a bad mood. And so I, bargained in a sort of yucky kind of way, but it's a massive adjustment. And when you don't, like, I write about how I was in Vietnam and I was too scared to take out a calculator, but I had no idea. And the currency is like 13,000 dong to the dollar. So I would, you know, but this is what travelers do. It's part of the challenge and the joy and what makes it a rewarding personal experience.
Yes, yeah, but I get, you know, there's that term. So there's backpacker. I never associated, and we've talked about that. I don't associate with digital nomad.
Yes.
And I met one yesterday, and I sort of smirk, but I'm like, she is in the truest sense, and she lived in Bali for 3.5 years. I'm like, you are a digital nomad. I am not.
Yeah.
And with the backpacker, someone's like, someone said to me, you're a terrible backpacker. I said, I never called myself a backpacker. I
No.
went on a gap here and I intended to live overseas. What I ended up doing was changing the type of work that I did whilst I was away, so that I did end up kind of hanging out with the people who were doing the 2-year visa thing in London. And so then I was doing some trips with people who were doing their backpack a year or 2 years, or the visa thing again, it's a bit different. It's
Yeah.
different to the backpacker scene. And so then, you know, and I heard, you know, Dana was called the glam packer. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm a glamper. I'm a glam
Yeah.
packer, and I'm fine with that. Like, I wear a backpack when I go trekking, but people are like, should I wear my backpack when I go to Mexico? I'm like, no, there's places someone you can use has suitcase. What bag do you want to use? Like, you
Yeah.
know, just because you're going on a travel, you know, you see the people who like hit up Kathmandu and they've, as in the shop, like my dad,
Oh,
like, you know, they buy up, dad spent like $1,200 in Kathmandu. Yeah, no, not in no, yeah, in the store, you know,
yeah.
they saw him coming because he was doing a 5-day trek and he's like, well, I'm going on an adventure. So he bought all the kit and caboodle.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, there's so many different ways to travel. That for me, the thing is that you're doing it. And that what I love about the Art of Bleisure is you're showing people that there are ways of doing it that they may not have realized are possible. I mean, I kind of wholly commit to it. Like, I saved up, I traveled for 365 days. I wrote some children's stories, but apart from that, I was just completely traveling. Went to London, and then I moved to Bangladesh. So was that travel? Like, I lived there for 3.5 years, and then I lived in Myanmar for 4.5 years. Like, I fully commit to the destination, you know, because I was like, I don't want to go back and forth. And also, that's never been in my budget. Like, I was a journalist. You go and you get to know the place. And I was like, I want to stay for the elections and I want to know this country well. And I shall not leave unless you make me every 70 days. So, you know, it's kind of, you can be embedded, you can, you know, I also lived in London. I don't really consider that traveling, but it was in a sense.
Oh, it's definitely, and it's a traveler mindset. I'm just going to
It
yeah,
is lovely to see Mark joining us from Mandalay.
got Mark, and I'm just
His
going
friend
to
Mark.
we will mute everyone just because we're doing a live. So if you could pop yourself on, I don't want to mute
If Mark
Jess.
has
Hang on,
any
I've just got for
questions, I would love to hear them. I'd
yes,
love to
pop them.
hear how Mark is going.
Yeah, Mark, pop yours. So we've got a couple of guests who are here observing. So just pop your questions in the chat for us and we will get to them for sure. So generally we're talking about, obviously, Once Around the Sun, the book, but, you know, we are both travelers, and so to talk in that sense. But what I found interesting that you said, and we had very two different approaches to this, and we did our travel at a very similar time, which is also really interesting, reading the other two memoirs that are set at different times because of the technology and the way where the world was at. And so you were 2006 or 7?
2006 to 7.
Yeah, so me too. So we were
Yeah.
traveling in a year, and I think where social media was at, where technology was at, where I don't know, I think it was really a prime time of, and you were still like, oh my gosh, you went backpacking, or oh my gosh, you did a gap year, where I feel like there are people taking lots of big extended travel now. I was very unique in my age group to have done it. And I would think you taking that year away or to move away, you would still be one of the more unique ones, no?
Not really. No, I knew heaps of people, maybe not for a year, but definitely for 6 months. I had lots and lots of people, but I think I was a bit late because I did all my university. So I did 6 years of that. And then I went, do you know what? Bye. And then I left and I didn't come home for 10 years. Whereas other people kind of took a year off in their university studies, came back, got the job, did it, you know, became an adult. And I sort of did not do that.
Yeah, maybe it's because I was from the Shire.
I was confused. Maybe, yeah. I was from Melbourne. People were always leaving.
Yeah, a couple of people in my year probably did it, but majority either went into work or, you know, I'm talking the gap year, but then like people started doing the visa thing and they tended to be a little bit older. So yeah, early 20s as opposed to the 18, 19. And then I was surprised when I was over there how many people were in their late 20s or 30. And I was kind of like, you know, I'm 18, I'm like, you old.
I know.
But your comfort level, like for me right now, guys, I met a guy the other week, he's 23, and I was like, do it now. And I was like, read Jess's book, do it now. And he's already doing it because I said, when you, in 3 or 4 years, your comfort level will change and you won't be able to do, you may not be able to do the $5 hotel anymore, depending on some places, there's always that availability, but there's just things that I would not put my husband through. And I definitely.
And when you have children, it is completely different. I mean, I'm writing the Kathmandu to the Khyber Pass, and the part that I was writing yesterday was my absolute joy at my hotel room in Kathmandu, because I'd slept in a dormitory in different places for 5 weeks. And in Kathmandu, I had my own toilet, and I run over to the toilet. And I'm like, my own toilet, you know, like it was amazing to me. And the privacy to have my own room again. It was all I needed and wanted.
Which is such a bonus. Renee is saying that she had kids in her 20s, so she didn't start traveling until her 30s. And now at 48, she does, as I do, host retreats. So which is a totally different, you know, travel retreats. So it's a totally different way of travel. And and also Renee and I have a different lens of it as well, because when we're planning trips now on behalf of potentially 12 other people, you're thinking about all of their comfort and what they want from the experience as well. And we even had a situation in India, which was funny. At the time, we had a cooking class that was, the woman was an interesting character. But I, you know, I afterwards, sort of the next day, I said we wouldn't do that again. And I've spoken to my colleague, and I was just only talking to the photographer, but I would have told the whole group, like it was fun and we handled it well. But she said she tried to convert my vegetarians into eating meat, and just sort of like threw me under the bus in front of the group. And I'm like, I can handle it. And I was there as the group host, but I'm like, if we sent a group there and I wasn't there, I can't trust that. Whereas we have another lady in Delhi, Neha from Saffron Palette, who we send everyone to because we know she's going to give our guests the best experience. And so my friend was like, oh, but she was fun and lovely. And I said, they're fine as people, and I'm glad we met them and we had a fun experience, but I have to think about the best for the group. And I have to make the decision for the best of the group. And so it's a different.
I'm so surprised in India. I would have thought it would be trying to convert the carnivores into becoming vegetarian. That is just.
Sorry, it wasn't Goa, it was Kerala. Kerala is such an anomaly, but yeah, they actually would serve you meat first. And we didn't even, because I'm so used to vegetarianism being so open, we didn't even check which is like a lesson on my part. We didn't
but you would stop, because meat is almost forgotten in India, I know, to me, which blew my mind.
Always had the option. And then she was so baffled by what to cook. And I'm like, but you're a cook. And my friend, who's the chef in Delhi, was just like, just cook potato. Like, give him potato. And just like, she didn't have potato in the house. Like, what Indian kitchen is this? Like, and you know,
aloo.
No, I know it was poor on both parts, because it was like, okay, I should have said the dietaries. I did know the dietaries, but they also didn't ask the dietaries. And I'm just like, I just was like, we sort of covered this off earlier in the retreat.
It's such an easy mistake to make. And really the onus is on the cooking school to check the dietary requirements.
Good lesson, and just like a great lesson for me to teach people in retreats. But sorry, we've gone off the tangent, but there's so many, as you said.
Yeah, we have
so many different levels of travel. And I just think, okay, so let's define backpacker, because I think everybody has a different view of it. So what do you, and you said there's sort of this ugly and beautiful side to it. What would you define as backpacking to you?
Well, to me, it is that you carry a pack. You must carry a pack on your back. And that's it to me, really, is that even if you're staying in mid-range accommodation, I guess that's glam packing. It's really, to me, my idea of it is that you're staying in hostels and you carry your bag on your back, and you probably don't have a round the world ticket. You got a ticket to one country, and then you might have a plan, but to me, it's also more overland than
Flying.
sort of doing, 10 European cities and you're carrying a backpack. To me, backpacking is that overland journey, but that's just because that's how I did it. And also quite slow because, denotes kind of doing it on foot. So it's quite slow. So you're thrifty, you're strong, and you're free.
I think the free is the thing for me, and the thing that when I read about backpacking and when I think back to gap year, the envy that I feel and the envy that I felt talking to this, even though this is when I talk about running your own business, you should have freedom, but you become sort of, we do have things to do. And that thing where you have chosen this life of giving, you probably have sold a lot of your possessions.
Yeah.
You don't have rent, you don't have overheads.
No.
It is such a free way to be. And I had that envy of what am I going to do today? Oh, we want to go over here. Okay, what, you're going to Laos? I'll come with, oh, there's
amazing.
I just that I'm trying to, even in a shorter trip, include some more space for those sorts of things, because it's so, if you've
not
got
to plan everything.
And then you hear about this wonderful thing and then you've got to save it for next time, so it's kind of cool having those. And I said to Matt, I want to try that at a smaller scale. Like, let's just go and stay somewhere, or like book our first 2 nights and then have 10 days.
And then nothing. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that's because then you can linger for as long as the place holds your interest. And if you just don't it doesn't do anything for you, you could just move on the next day. Like, it's just so amazing. And some places like Kolkata, I ended up spending 10 days because I just loved it. I loved the whole city of writers. There was just beautiful things to see, and it was amazing. It's always, then I went back and had my honeymoon there, which was a funny place for a honeymoon.
Yes, that is an interesting place for a honeymoon. I've not been to Calcutta, but I'm very keen to go.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Were there like places that you ended up, because you said so maybe you had 365 days of travel, once around the sun because you wanted to stay in the warmer areas, but were there any places that you sort of had pinpointed, or you've gone, I'm going to go to that country, and then you didn't get
India? Yeah, India. I wanted to, I knew that you could get a 6-month visa, and I wanted to use every day of that visa in India. So my rough plan was to do a lap of India, and I did. And I wanted to do it alone as well. That was important to me. Things do not always go to plan. We shall say that, for better or worse. But I did have, 5 months and 3 weeks in India. So that was really fantastic. And I wanted to go to Pakistan, and I had the Lonely Planet because I borrowed it from the library, because of course I couldn't buy all my Lonely Planets because I'd have to carry them. But I would look at the pages of the polo players in the mountains, and I'd hide the Lonely Planet under my mattress because I didn't want mum and dad to find it, because they would freak out, like, you're going to Pakistan. So I'd like put it in, and then I'd take it out at night. And I did get to go to Pakistan, which was amazing.
And that's going to be in the second element. But you wrote, why, you and I was going to say this and I kind of got on a tangent, but you and I, so I did my gap year and you've done your year, but I always thought, I knew I was going to write a book, but you didn't think it was going to be a book.
Oh, I hoped it would be a book, and I didn't. And I started painting in London, and my watercolor teacher was an older guy. He knew a literary agent, and he said, come and meet her. Because I said, I want to, I just had this amazing trip and I'd love to write a book. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to meet a literary agent. So I stayed up the whole night writing chapter summaries and putting it all together. And then I met him at the station, and he said, oh, she's busy, she couldn't come. And I was just like, and that I was like, why did I even think that would happen? And then I just was busy trying to be a journalist and stuff. And I was just trying to be a journalist. There just wasn't enough time in the day to also write a book, because I was working full time and studying and everything. And then I moved to Bangladesh. And then I thought the book would be about Bangladesh, because that was such a profound experience, far more depth to it than, just backpacking, right? And then I could get that book published. And then I was writing it all while living in Myanmar, getting knocked back, came back to Australia, got knocked back. And I said, that's the last time. Actually, I'm going to write a book about Myanmar. That got knocked back. And I said, I'm going to self-publish this book. And then I haven't looked back. And that's why I'm really passionate about self-publishing. I don't think people realize how many times I have been rejected. It might be 100 for different books. And every time really hurt. So
where is it?
Huh?
The Bangladesh book, where is it?
It's number 4. It's coming up.
Good.
The cover photo is this.
I'm like, because I'm reading Myanmar book and I'm like, but how did you get there? And you get people representation. Like, where's Bangladesh? Like, I'm like, because
where's Bangladesh? COVID happened and my divorce happened. And Bangladesh is a tough place to live. And I saw a lot of really sad things. And it didn't have the period of optimism that Myanmar had, that I was like, and Myanmar for a while was, very newsworthy because all the eyes were on it. It had changed its political system. I was like, I have to write about this country. But then in the lockdowns, I just didn't have the appetite to start writing about Bangladesh as a newly single parent in lockdown. So I was like, you know what, also international travel just stopped. It just stopped. And I went, I just can't believe it. And I'm going to write about it. And that really gave me the drive to write about it.
But also we must say that your ex is Bangladeshi. So the Bangladesh is very much tied to him. And then obviously Myanmar was also quite a lot with him. And then but this is pre that. So
important detail. I met Sherpa in Bangladesh. He was my translator and we got married. And then we lived in Myanmar together and then we separated in Australia. So just to do it justice, to give it time, I think time is actually a really good thing with books, that leaving it a few years can actually improve the book and do it justice.
Yeah, I think that's something that I've always felt like I missed out or it was too late. And then I've had and full disclosure, you're going to read it, but in the acknowledgements, I've actually acknowledged 2 people along my journey who confirmed to me through bit woo-woo ways that the book was coming, and just gave me that peace of being like, don't worry, it'll come, kind of thing. And one was in 2014 and one was like 2 years ago, just to be like, oh, you will write the book. And so I've been so fascinated by your experiences because it's so vivid. Like I read Myanmar first and then I'm reading this one and it's so vivid. And I'm like, but it's 18 years ago. And then I reflect on my own journey. Of course, it's still very vivid for me too.
Yeah.
And so
it's a memory.
You did have, like, how do you, I know this, but let's tell the listeners, how do you go back to those memories? Like what sort of data do you have?
I use a process of reconstruction and this is a 2006 edition. So I actually had this as I was traveling. I go, that cafe. I did have.
Did you keep
it secondhand? Book.
2000 Nepal.
On my bookshelf, all those blue books, they're all 2006. So I actually carried those Lonely Planets because the price is right. I'm like, it brings back immediate memories. I know where I stayed. Then I look it up on Google Maps. I do a lot of walking tours on YouTube. My dad saved every email that he and I sent each other, which was over 80,000 words, letters to my grandma, postcards. I should have brought them out. And I've also contacted the people that I traveled with and said, hey, that time you got robbed in Vietnam, can you tell me about it again? Like if there's any details that I missed. So that's been amazing to reconnect with people as well.
Launch.
Huh?
Robbed came to your book launch.
Yeah, and Romy, who I traveled with, who got robbed, came to my book launch. And she and I have actually recorded a podcast where we go through the memories, which I'm going to upload this week. And it was so nice of her to come and amazing. But I do want to say that if someone is thinking of writing a memoir, don't be held back by the fact that this happened in the past, because you will surprise yourself. Obviously, it's such an important memory to you that you would spend the time writing a book about it. The memories are there if you can just tap them. Like I know with Dana, she listens to music and stuff to bring it back, but her experiences are more recent. But, Bruce, Catch the Wind, this book was set in 1968.
Yeah.
He never forgot 1968 when he was 18. Again, he has his letters. He did a heap of desk research and he remembers it because he was there. Don't forget that you were there, and have a caveat if it makes you feel more comfortable that these are my memories. They're true to me. There may be some errors and they're my fault, but write the book. That's what I would say. And don't be fearful of, can I remember well enough? Don't make stuff up.
No.
But you'll remember enough, because a scene requires less than what people think. You don't want to be bogged down in every detail.
No, and that's the problem, as you say, when it's too fresh, is you're like, I think my always concern was when you're dealing with a year worth of stuff, you're like, the book's going to be, as big as Lord of the Rings, but it's not.
Yeah.
Was that in, and I think you've said the same, some of the emails you sent home are quite embarrassing, because I would be like, and I had breakfast, and I'm like, oh God, I'm just literally setting my journal like, oh, so earnest, so cute.
Yeah. No filter.
Pages of, well, and I think it's how I always start. So I need to always start writing and then just cut the first bit, because the first bit's always waffle, but it's always just like, I had breakfast and I did this and I did that. And what I've been finding is that, yes, as you're writing and it's quite fact, then you go, oh, that was a good story.
Yeah.
Or, oh, I can elaborate on this. Or, oh, that's actually an interesting point. And you get into it, and then you're like, oh, that is quite a good, or as you're telling people and you got to hear me.
It's what you tell people.
You're like, oh, that's a good thing. You're like, oh, if you're interested, it's probably interesting then.
Yeah. Your skill as a writer is as much what you leave out as what you put in. The ability to choose what to put in is critically important. And it's not a blow by blow account of my travels, or it would be no good. So.
No, and you quite simply do not have this, and it's not, but it would have been a huge book, is what you've said. It would have been the year.
Well, it's already 2. It's going to be 2 books, not 1. Yeah. So,
but you said because you're self-publishing, you had the choice to be able to do that.
Yes.
Whereas if you were an editor, you would have. Oh, sorry.
Are we out of time?
No, I've got it unlimited. We'll go to, if you're happy to, we'll go for another 10, 15.
Sure. Okay. I just saw the timer ticking down.
Yeah. No. But yes, you got the prerogative to make the book.
Yeah, because it actually was sort of making the writing experience less enjoyable for about 3/4 of the first book, because I was stressed out about how long my book was going to be. There are some conventions I'm happy to break, but I don't want to give people a 140,000 word book. Or, I was thinking it would sit in that awkward range of like 125,000. That's, this is a 78,000 word book, but like to double that, it's heavy, it's expensive to print. It's taking up too much of people's time. And so I kept making had just the name of the chapter and approximately how many words, let's say 3.5. And I was like, the maths is not mathing, this is not going to work. And then when I went, I'm going to split the book into 2. And I asked my editor, Lauren Finger, I said, can I split the book in 2? And she goes, no, she said, write it, finish it, take stuff out. You will be able to take stuff out, keep it to 1 book. Very sensible advice. So I kept going and I was like, nah, I can't. And then I just went, do you know what? And then I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to split the book. And then I went, oh my God, I've nearly finished. Instead of this book taking forever, I was suddenly like, oh, I can release a book soon.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like, and I think this also, I think sometimes the worry, like, you go, oh, that story, I want to include this story. And then it's really nice. And I heard this from Emma Isaacs has written 2 books, and she'd write something and her editor would go, that's for another book. Like, great.
Yes, repurpose it.
So just hold it. And I was like, it's so nice, because I'll be like, oh, I love this story, but I'm like, doesn't fit this book. And it could be another book, and it might even not fit the gap year book. And there's a wonderful book that my uncle gave me. I think it's called something like, it's a Lonely Planet book, and it's something like Stories to Nowhere or Stories from Nowhere or something like that. And it's just this collection of short travel stories. Like, it's basically a bunch of travel memoirs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could write my own bunch of mini travel. Like, there's no the theme is stories. It's not
Yeah. Oh, short stories is
everything-
absolutely a genre. I mean, Rudyard Kipling has mastered that art. You know, short stories are beautiful.
yeah, it doesn't have to be that, each thing
No.
is its own book, or that everything has to fit into the one book. It's like there could be a book that is just a collection of stories that
Yeah.
the thread is
Yeah.
you, not not anything else. So it's nice to be able to know that you've got, and you gave me that very wise advice of, and Anna Featherston backed it up too, or but said, you're not writing the first, don't think about one book, think about the series.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's so liberating to be writing this and going, oh, that's the next book, or
Yeah.
oh, and then oh, cool, this I've got to I'm sort of planting this seed because then I'll elaborate next time, and then
Yeah.
oh, I'm planting this seed and go, oh, people are like, I want more of that. You're like, cool, oh, that'll come later. It's such a nice, and to know that when this one finishes, like I know you're already writing and it's a habit now, and that it's lovely to hear that. I'm glad Bangladesh is coming out, and I'm like, well,
Yeah.
what else is she gonna do?
I'm going to write a book about how to write a book.
There you go. Yeah,
That'll be book number 5.
amazing. And I mean, I love the way that you, and not everybody does it successfully. You've done something, you've learned from it, and now you're helping people to do it in terms of starting the publishing house.
Yeah.
Like you're the publishing business that you needed the first time.
Yeah, yeah, I love that because I think a business starts with a problem, right? So when I was a journalist, I would always begin with what problem does your business solve? Because that would give me a really good understanding of what they did and why. Why? And usually it was the founder's own story. And so for me, what gets me out of bed in the morning is turning the heartache of not getting to fulfill a creative dream. It's not about the royalties or the fame, but expressing your idea in book form and getting other people to read it and having that gate shut, that possibility closed. And so when people come to me and they have tried and tried and tried and they've put all the work in and everything, and they have an amazing idea, but they keep getting blocked. And then when I say, let's do it, they sort of don't even understand straight away. Like, Marg Chipperfield with this book, No Buts, which is an incredible book telling the stories of 12 men who were violent or abusive. They took part in a long-term behavior change program and they started to stop being violent and abusive. I was like, this is amazing. I booked in an editor. Let's go. She said, no, you have to tell me, should I publish the book? I said, of course we should publish the book. Of course we should. Like, I guess I skipped over that part to me, but she had really low self-confidence. I just kind of took it for granted. So that's what I love. And my clients are such interesting, smart, determined people who don't take no for an answer because they keep doing the research. And what I also love is that they don't put prestige over idea, because I know some authors, and everybody's different, but they say, if I can't get a publisher, I'm not going to write the book. I need the validation of someone backing me, because that is more important than getting my idea out into the world. For me, I just really wanted to share my book with the world. So it's really rewarding. It is so rewarding to see like Bruce posting his book to the ABC editor. Last night, he just messaged to say the interview is confirmed. Like, they love the book. He's going to be on ABC evenings. It's great. When Bruce and I started working together, his confidence was rock bottom. And I said, Bruce, you've written 2 books. This is 165,000 words. When he sent it all to me, so we've got to split this, like my books. Like, you can't put it. His recollections of 1968 were incredible.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. And also, it's nonfiction. My books, all the books that I work with are true, and they contribute to knowledge and sharing ideas, and that make people's lives better or make people feel less alone. And that's what I love.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've heard of the term a little bit lately, if you can, like a vanity publishing. What's that?
Yeah. There's different models of publishing. I call myself a hybrid publisher. There is a lot of disagreement over different terms and even what a hybrid publisher would be. So I'll set it out, because the other thing that I've realized is that for my business to succeed, it will be transparency. That is what I need to be upfront about. So a traditional publisher, typically, if you get one of the big four, they'll pay you in advance and you will not contribute to the cost of producing your book. The publisher buys your book, buys the rights to the book, and they put it out, and they then keep the majority of royalties for the lifetime of that book. And the author is very unlikely to earn back their advance, and they don't always get an advance, but they don't invest in their book. They also don't have control over their cover, the marketing, how long the print will be, how long the book will be in print for. So the publisher owns it for about 10 years. And if it's not selling, it just is unavailable. Then there's vanity. Vanity has existed for a long time, which is where the author pays money to a publisher to produce their book, to get it out into their world. Some of the first self-published vanity publishers was Virginia Woolf and Jane Austen, because they were so determined. They got knocked back from publishers. Virginia Woolf and her husband, they set up their own printing press at home to get the book out, because it was that burning desire, and the rest is history, literally, right? Now, the thing with vanity is that the criticism is that there's no quality control. The company's just taking the money and allowing them to print glowing vanity projects about themselves, okay? That's sort of 1980s, 1990s, 1970s type thing. With the rise of self-publishing, so self-publishing is me, myself. I published my book on Amazon. It's available at all the global bookstores, but I paid my editor, Lauren, to edit my book. I paid a cover designer to create the cover for my book. I don't pay Amazon anything. They pay me royalties for the lifetime of my book every month. Now, Hembury Books comes along, and there's not many companies in Australia. In the US, there's one called She Writes, they're really big. So I help self-published authors to publish their books. So the author pays me and the editors and the designers to create a really high quality book. So you don't have to learn alone. You're not doing that self part. We take it all over. When your book is released, it is your IP to do as you wish. I just set you up to receive royalties, and you earn them for the lifetime of your book. To make things really confusing, hybrid publishers in the United States have a true hybrid model. So the author subsidizes some of the costs to produce the book, and the publisher retains some royalties for the lifetime of the book, less than they would typically. It's a different approach. To me, I like my approach because the author should always be in control. Like, I have clients. How they would like their cover is I please my clients. I give professional advice, but I don't say you have to take out the last 3 chapters of your book. And I don't say this is your cover, like it or lump it, right? Because I think it's so important to the author to always be driving their book, the success of their book as well. And they need to have the freedom to update their book, repurpose their book, order copies of their book, and not to have to get permission. So the idea is that I bring up the quality of the self-published books because it's well planned out. It's edited, it's got a beautiful cover, and it's metadata and all of that, and it's in all the places it should be, which frees up the person to write the book. So a book is an expensive thing to produce. The question is, who's going to pay for it? Will the publisher pay for it? Will you, the author, pay for it? I was okay with paying for it because it was deeply important to me. I saw it as part of my business and part of who I am. And in the way that I would invest in a speaking coach or marketing, if I provided goods or services, this is another massive tool in who I am.
It's definitely, and I wouldn't even use the pay. And I'm listening to a book at the moment, which is, I keep raving about, called Who Not How. But it's like, if you ever see your who people, the people in your business, as a cost, that's an issue. Like, they are an investment. You are investing in them. And for me, a book's always been an investment. It's
an investment.
Time and the space, the time, the finances, and the energy to invest, to make it what I wanted it to be. And I know people's like, fundamentally a book is. She's like, I just wrote for half an hour a day, X amount of words. We put it together and had a book. And it's like, yeah, I could just put words on a page. Like I could have done that at any point. I have 6 chapters lying around in one book and 6 chapters of another book. Are they the book that the world needs? Are they the book that I want out there? No.
Yeah, it's about making it. You want to be remembered for your book. It's not just a purse. I like to say a book is not a purse. It's not an accessory you can just purchase, right? It has to be a good book. You have to be remembered for your ideas and hopefully write more. That's a book of value. That book will get you good, well-paid speaking gigs. That book will get you clients. If you write a bad book, that will close doors.
Yeah.
So it's about producing really high quality books that are indistinguishable from a traditionally published book. Anyone can, and I do want to have courses in time for someone that, just does not have the funds, but they do have the time, because what you're doing is you're trading your time. I know how many hours it took me just to work out Amazon and the costly mistakes I made. To me, this is a really good way of doing it. And I also prefer the model. I feel as an author, it's inequitable for me to have the royalties of a client's book. I feel like they put the work in. And I do feel over time, the lifetime royalties of the book is way more than what they will pay me.
And also, I think you don't want, like, I don't know, I speak from some of my experience with it. I don't want that attachment.
No,
like
I don't want to enter into a lifetime financial arrangement with someone. No, I set people free with their books. There's your book. Go into the world and enjoy your book.
Yeah,
and
you're
being
invested. I've done this part with you. We worked together for this portion of time. And then, yeah, it's much a cleaner and clearer.
yeah.
And I've done these commission things even with my pet sitting, and it was like, oh, that person, you referred them and they're doing gigs, you should now get the commission. I was like, I don't want to chase them every time they get a $40 sit for $4.
No.
I want that. And I just was like, I give it lovingly and freely. Take the clients. I earned money with you when you were with me. We separate now. Well done.
Yeah. I've had one person try to begin that sort of lifetime referral thing. There's Mark. Hi, Mark. And I just don't want to do it. The other thing Hembry Books is unusual is there's like I paid all different people for all the services. I had an editor, I had a cover designer, I had so many people. I had someone running my Amazon advertising. What Hembry Books is different is it's end to end. You don't have to look outside. Just come to me and we will go from start to finish. And I know it's an ambitious model, and other people have said coach, edit, publish. Coaches are no good at publishing and editors are no good at coaching. And I'm like, well, but I'm an author. And so I'm writing my own books as well. So I do know the emotional roller coaster of what it is to write a book. And I have self-published. So I'm doing what I do for myself. And also, like, I have other editors that if I'm too busy or something, that they can do either the proofread or a substantive edit, because I want it to be really big. Like, I want to have quite a large team of people
Got 10
to
people.
scale this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I would love to do, because then I could help more people bring out more books.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. We'll wrap up and we'll say hello to our people here once we've gone off air. But it's funny, it's like a radio show. Thank you so much, Jess, for sharing the book and sharing your stories. I know we didn't talk as much about the Once Around the Sun. I think we're going to have to do a live more travel stories.
I think we did at the start.
But the current book is Once Around the Sun. You're very much in the thick of your third book, which is
Kathmandu to the Khyber Pass. I'm calling it K2K in my head.
Awesome. And so we've got Jess, the author, and then we've got Hembry Books, the publisher. And personal thanks for being on my journey. And I'm sure we will have you on to talk about that.
Yes, I was reading through your chapters this morning.
Yeah, I saw. I will flip the script. But thank you so much. And yes, books available at all good bookstores, Amazon.
All the retailers.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you, Jess, and congrats.
Thank you, Emma. Thanks so much.